Thanks for watching this Coastline Church video. If you would like to get further connected, you can email us at hello@coastlinensb.com or visit us at facebook.com/coastlinensb.
So as we were starting this series and planning and going through this week of the series, Every Little Thing, we've been talking about the mountains in life that we face, these kind of like looming issues that are just kind of overbearing us, and we sit in the shadow and we look up at them and we know that we've got to get over them, we've got to get around them, we've got to get through them, these tough situations in life, but we're not really sure how. How do we attack the mountain? And as Erica and I are going through this past 3 weeks, we're counseling some couples and counseling individuals. And man, there's a lot of mountains in people's lives. There's a lot of stuff that people are dealing with, and serious stuff too. I mean, we've been talking with couples that are dealing with marriage issues that are deeply real. We're talking with couples that are with people that are dealing with substance abuse. People that are dealing with just depression and struggling with their jobs and purpose in life. We got people that are just up to their eyeballs in debt and don't know how to get the heck out of it. And it's kind of like nerve-wracking for us because even as we talk through this, we know that like there's still so many other stories out there that we don't know of yet. Even this past week, we had in our crew, we had 2 families that were impacted in huge ways with loss of loved ones that were complete surprises they didn't expect to happen. And so it's like we're all dealing with these tough things of how do we get through them. And for me, like when we're preparing this series, like I'm really kind of nervous about it, and I don't know if I like want to do it because I know like, well, if I preach these things, if we talk about these things, then we're probably going to have to go through them, And so like for the past like 3 weeks, my family's been like falling apart. We've had like double ear infections and stuff like that. And we have had issues with the bank account. We've had the issues like, well, we had actually a good thing with the IRS. IRS said we don't owe them anything. Praise God. That was a big deal. It's like the one good thing in a list of like crappy things that have been happening over the past 3 weeks. And so it's like, it makes me nervous as a pastor. I'm like, when we plan the next series, like, do I want to plan like, okay, how do we deal with every little thing that is just messing up our lives, everything that's looming over us, Makes me think what I really should do is, we should preach a sermon on like, how to get out of debt, how to get a raise, lose 30 pounds, watch FSU win, all in the same week, right? Like that's the series we need to do next. But in all seriousness, man, I know that, even in our family, I don't know if you've been feeling, but in our family, it's been a tough past few weeks of talking through these things. But the truth is I know that God is still having his way in them. And he reminded me of that last night with my little baby girl, Olivia. As we're in the car ride home and after hanging out with some good friends of ours, Olivia says, "Hey, Daddy, turn on the song." And like, I know what she's talking about, but like it's like, "What song, baby? What are you talking about?" She's like, no, the song. I'm like, "Which song?" She's like, the everything's going to be all right song. And so I turn on the song, and for, the next 15, 20 minutes, my family is singing this song of everything's going to be all right, knowing that right now in the lives of our family and in the lives of the families of our church, everything might not be all right. But I know that through God, that everything's possible. I know that through God, I believe, and I know that everything's going to be all right. The reason why I know it is because he said it. The word, his word says it. In Romans chapter 8, verse 28, and this is the verse that we've kind of based the series on, it says this. It says, "And we know that God causes," what? "Everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them." Go back to that first part of the verse. We know that God causes everything. See, here's the thing. As Christians, sometimes we like get in this rut of like, okay, God's going to work. Maybe he'll work the big things out. Or like the really big things, maybe, that's just too big for God. Maybe he'll just can work the good things out. Maybe like today I'll feel good. But what does that mean for like tomorrow and the next day? But I know this. I know that when we say that, when that word everything is used, it means everything. Every big thing, every little thing. I believe when it comes to God, every little thing is going to be all right. Especially the big things that are to us in our hands, they're hard to hold, they're hard to deal with. But in God's hands, man, I know he can still work it out for good. It might not feel that way right now, but I promise you that he can. If you've heard me preach before, there's a chance that you've heard me talk about, this myth that a lot of church people say when you're going through a tough time of, God will never give you more than you can bear, right? How many of you guys have heard that before? Don't raise your hand because it's not in the Bible at all. So it sounds great. It sounds like something that's in the Bible, but it's completely not. It's taken out of quotes. It's actually talking about sin, saying you will not be tempted by sin beyond what you can bear. But the truth is, I could tell you stories from even just this past week that we're faced with mountains of issues that are ahead of us that are bigger than what we can handle on our own. And so how do we deal with them? Through praying and talking with God this past week, I feel like there's been a couple ways that he showed me that are just maybe some tools we can use in getting through the mountain that is in front of us, or getting up and getting over it, or getting around it, but dealing with it. As we started the series, I started to do a little bit of research about mountain climbing. I've never done mountain climbing myself. I know I've got the physique for it, right? I'd go down a mountain really well, but probably not climb the mountain so well. But started doing some research on mountain climbing, like what it takes and like preparation and tools. And specifically, I was like, well, there's so much out there. Like I'm going to pick like one mountain. Like what is, if we were to pick a mountain that everyone knows about, what would it be? Everest, right? Everyone says Everest. And so I started looking up Mount Everest, which is, it's a pretty mountain, man. It's pretty big is what it is. I started looking up in Mount Everest does anyone know how high Mount Everest is? 34,000? Close. Anyone else want to do a guess? 29. Just because you're really smart and you already knew the fact, you're not even guessing. 29,029 feet high above sea level is what Mount Everest is. To put that in perspective, commercial airplanes fly somewhere between around 30 to 35,000 feet. So that's pretty high up in there, right? It's higher than a cat's back. It's pretty high. If you're Southern, you'll get that in like a couple days. But so I started to look into this of like, okay, 29,000 feet. Like, how long do you think it takes to travel 29,000 feet to climb up Mount Everest? Like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, like you got to prepare for like, I'm sure like a year or something, right? Like, because you got to like condition yourself and you got to do some running or something like that. You got to slim down. Like, if I were to do it, you're talking about years of preparation I'd have to put into it. And still, even then, I wouldn't want to do that. I'm good. That's why I live in Florida, right? It's like Mount Dora is the highest mountain we got around here, and that ain't even mean nothing. So I started looking into it. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe a year or something. Who knows how long it takes? I looked into it, and just the climbing from the base to the top, I figured, man, it would take a day, maybe 2 days or something. From the base of the mountain to the top of the mountain is a 2-month process. It's not something that happens quickly. Because here's the thing, when you get up to the base of Mount Everest, not only do you have to have all the provisions that you need, and you have to have all the tools and stuff, and you have to have a guide, but you also have to be conditioned physically, not just what you can do with working out or exercising or anything like that. You have actually got to become acclimated to the climate that you're in. You have to prepare for the altitude that you're going to be living in. And so over the course of 2 months, these guides take these climbers from point A back to base camp. From point A back to base camp. They might go to point A and then go to point B, but that night they're coming back to base camp. And they continue this process the whole time until one day at the end of the 2 months, they say, today's the day. And we're going to go from point B to the summit and come back down in a day, which is crazy. And as I'm thinking through this 2-month process, in the preparation that's got to go in the exercise, and it's just so much work. And the reason why is not just the fact so that you can make it to the top, because there's guys that have made it to the top before. They've made it over the top. But not only do you have to survive going over the top, you've got to survive the trip back down. There's something like 200 some odd people that have not made the trip back down from Everest. I think about this situation, this mountain, when it comes to what we're facing in our life. Some of us, this is what it feels like. When it comes to debt, when it comes to our jobs or our marriage, or even whatever that we're dealing with that we've been fighting for a long time. It's not an easy thing to overcome. And some of us, we already feel like I've been trying to climb this thing, and it's just not happening quickly. How do I get over it? There's 2 things today that I think, if you get a mountain in your life, 2 things that you might be able to use to get up and over it, or to get around it, or to get through it. And the first one is work. Hard work. Now let me stop real quick, okay? Because this is where this part of the message is not for everyone. Because some of the mountains that you're facing in life, you don't need to be working hard to get through it or to get over it. It's not something that you can put your physical hands to. And for some of you, even still, it's like there's things that like you're working on right now, and it's your mountain. And God's like, I need you to stop working on it, because it's not a mountain; it's a roadblock. I'm trying to get you to not go this direction. But for some of us today, I feel like the Holy Spirit is telling us that for the mountain that you're facing of debt or bad credit or the job situation you've got going on, I think one of the things that's going to help you get through it is by putting a little sweat equity into it, by busting your hump and doing some hard work. It's not something in today's day and age that's also common. But I guarantee you, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I know that God can do everything, can work everything out for good. But I believe that one of the ways that he'll work it out is through hard work. I know this because of, look who Jesus pulled alongside him when he was for disciples, right? First guy I picked was Peter, right? Peter was a fisherman. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know a whole lot of fishermen that you do it as a job that are not hard workers. Because if you're not a hard worker as a fisherman and that's a job, you're not going to really have a job, right? It's like you got to not, and fishermen, they don't give up. They just keep going out. They're messy and smelly, but they keep doing it. They don't stop. And I think Jesus, when he finds Peter and Peter's brother, he's said, man, these are the guys that I want. Because through some hard work, if they'll put in some hard work, man, I can do something pretty great with them. I can work some stuff out with them. I can plant the church to come with them. He didn't stop there though, right? Jesus also pulled some guys in that were tax collectors. These guys were hustlers, right? You ever meet someone that they're just like, I got a buddy who's like really great on Craigslist, right? He's like, he'll buy low, sell high. Buy low, sell high. And he's always trying to sell me things. I'm like, I can't buy anything from you, dude, because I know you're going to make a bunch of money on it. I'm going to be the guy paying the money out. He's a hustler. He works hard at it. Jesus is like, hey, you know what? I need some guys that'll hustle. I need some guys that'll put a little hustle in their step. Hard work is not a bad thing. I think that hard work can be the vehicle by which God allows you to get over and get through your mountain. Like I said before, though, for some of you, the mountain is not something you need to work on. The mountain is something that's blocking you from going down that road. Be wary of trying to attack something God's put in your way, a door that he's closed. You can beat down the door. You can go through it. But it might not be what God's best is for your life. I think one of the things that God uses the most to get through, that God can use to get you through and over your mountain, is hard work. Don't be afraid of it. Get out and sweat a little bit. If you got a mountain of debt, one day at a time, start chugging away at it. Stop overspending. Start saving. Start living within your means. One day at a time. It takes 2 months to get up and over Everest. It doesn't happen in just a couple days. The same thing might be happening to you. And the reason is because maybe through that hard work, God has something better on the other side. If you'll work hard in it, if you will work hard on your finances, maybe he wants you to work hard because he needs you to learn these things. He's trying to acclimate you for what's ahead. He's trying to prepare you for what's coming down the line. I think hard work is a great tool that God can use to help people get through some stuff. For some of you, though, I understand. I've got some people in my life that are dealing with health issues and emotional issues, and I don't think hard work works in that case. I think there's other things that do. I think when it comes to family stuff, when it comes to marriage, there's a lot of people that they call it an emotional issue. They call it something else that we can't work on. But I think when it comes to marriage, hard work. It's not something that comes easy. You might not like that person all the time. My wife and I, I'm going to confess sin to you guys. Is that okay? You guys be all right with that? I'm just real. This past week, my wife and I went to bed. Well, I don't know if she was mad at me at all. I went to bed mad at her 2 nights in a row. The Bible's clear on that. You're not supposed to do that. I've confessed my sin. I've apologized to God. God's forgiven me. But I'm just being real. Marriage, and a good marriage, it's not something that just happens. It's something you got to work on. It's something you got to strive for. You got to put in some sweat equity. You got to not do what you want to do or what's most comfortable. You got to work on it. Hard work, I think, is a big tool that God can use to get you through your mountain. Second thing is this. I talked about this on week 1 a little bit, but I believe that worship is another one that can get you through it. You got work, you got worship. Both start with a W. You know, I remember being a little kid, and, well, I was never really little, but younger. I was a younger kid. I remember being a younger kid and coming home one day from school or something, and my mom is in the kitchen singing this song from church, sounding like a crazy person. Like I'm like, my gosh, I don't want to, like, I'm really glad I didn't bring a friend home, Mom. You're being that crazy mom. But the song went something like, it was like, Brandon probably knows it. No matter what the weapon is, I want you to know that I win. You remember that? Oh, gosh. Yeah, my mom, she said, yeah, she definitely heard it. So, yeah, she was just yelling like, man, you would have thought she was listening to a football game or something like that. But she's in the kitchen, marching up and down through the kitchen, singing the song. No matter what the weapon is, I want you to know I'm going to win. And it actually comes from a verse in the Bible, Isaiah 54, verse 17. It says this, but in that coming day, no weapon turned against you will succeed. You will silence every voice raised up to accuse you. These benefits are enjoyed by the servants of the Lord. Their vindication will come from me. I, the Lord, have spoken. No weapon formed against them shall prosper. And for her, she's marching up and down the kitchen. I just found you, Mom. Do you remember this day? Oh, gosh, you were nuts. I thought you were nuts. I thought for sure she had lost it. I was like, we're going to have to put her in a crazy bin. She's marching up and down the kitchen. And next thing you know, she's got me by the hand and she's marching me up and down by the kitchen. You got to sing with me. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't know until later on, part of what she was singing about was the debt that her and my dad were facing while trying to raise 2 kids. And that she was tired of something imprisoning her so long that something was so stupid. And she just sang it out. She kept worshiping. She wasn't debt-free at the time. She put in some hard work to it. But I promise you more than anything, that lady worshiped her butt off, claiming it, that God was going to work everything out to be all right. It didn't happen magically, but she worshiped him until it happened. And sometimes I think the same thing needs to happen with us. Olivia doesn't know it, but the reason why she called that song the song is because that's what Eric and I have been doing for the past couple months. So when things happen, we're putting on that song and we're worshiping. And it might not feel like everything's going to be all right then. It might not feel like it's going to all work out for good right then. But you got to keep claiming it. You got to keep worshiping. Saying, God, I know you can do it. I know it hurts right now. I know it sucks right now. I know this mountain has got me in its shadow. But I know that everything's going to be all right. I know that everything is going to be just fine. Ricky last week started talking about this guy named Paul. Paul's in the Bible. He was a Pharisee, and he was actually persecuting Christians when he first comes on the scene, like to death. And so literally here's this guy who's like trying to kill followers of Christ, right? And you talk about some weird genocide stuff. But Jesus has this time with him and completely changes him and uses a guy that was out for killing Christians, goes and says, okay, now you're going to start planting the new churches. And Paul worked his butt off and planted church after church after church. And I love the passion that he had and the confidence that he had in God to continue to challenge him and do what God had called him to do. A lot of it happened because of hard work. But one of my favorite stories is a story of when him and this guy Silas are doing exactly what God told them to do. They're going out and they're preaching the gospel. And as they're out, they come upon this woman. This woman was a fortune teller. And this woman, they said, had a spirit on her, and she would be able to tell people what their future would be. And so as they're walking around and they're talking about Jesus and trying to communicate the word to people, this fortune teller's behind them yelling out, say, these guys are from Jesus. She was just causing a ruckus for them. So it said Paul turned around and said, the name of Jesus come out of her. And it said the spirit left her immediately. And because of it, she was not able to tell anyone's fortune anymore. Well, at this point, the masters, she was a slave girl, her masters were completely mad because here's a way that they were making money before that they're not anymore. And so they capture Paul and Silas, and Paul and Silas haven't even done anything wrong. They've done what Jesus has called them to do. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but being a Christian doesn't mean you get out of jail free card. That's not how it is. Come hang out with me for coffee for an hour, and I'll tell you some stuff. They go and they get stripped and beaten with canes and thrown into prison for doing what Jesus had called them to do. And at that point, prison wasn't like this thing where you go and you have television and 3 meals a day or anything like that. There was no bologna sandwiches. They were in the center of the prison. And in Acts chapter 16, verse 25, it says this, and it says, around midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and all the other prisoners were listening. These guys just got beat with canes. We have any, let's be honest, do you have anybody in the room here that like your mama at any point made you go out and cut your own switch? You ever did that? Like that, maybe it didn't happen up north, but here in the South, like that's what it was. Like you got pruning shears, you went and found your own switch. And the rule was like if the switch broke, mama would go out and find a switch. So I'm out there like testing switches. I'm like, gosh, man, this is going to suck so bad. Hate getting spankings with switches. These guys got beat with canes for no reason. And they're in prison. And they start singing. They start worshiping God. And I can't for the life of me, when I read the story in the past, why the heck would you do that? You're facing this huge thing. You don't know if you're going to get out of this. You don't know if you're going to get through it or get around it. But Paul knew. He said, you know what? I've seen what God can do. I've seen what Jesus can do. I know that he can do it again. And so I'm going to start worshiping him in advance. Because I know that in this situation, in this mountain that I'm facing, that he's still going to prevail, that he's going to work it all out for good somehow. And it says that as they started worshiping, the chains started breaking off of their arms and their legs, and all the gates in the prisons flew open. And they were free. You know what? It didn't even stop there, though. Because as they're there without being bound anymore, the prison guard came in, and he was afraid for his life, because here's the thing. If your prisoners got free, you had to take their place. So as he comes in and he sees the gates are open, he pulls out his sword to kill himself. And Paul says, stop. No, don't do it. Let me tell you something. And he brings him in, and he leads him to Jesus. He tells him about Jesus. It says on that day that the prison guard and his entire family were baptized. And it said that Paul and Silas went, and as they're in prison, the leaders of the city come to them and get them out and say, please just leave our city. The leaders of the city came in and freed them because God was working it all out for good. And I know that it started with a couple of guys who said, you know what? Whatever mountain we're facing, whatever we're dealing with, we don't know what's next, but we're going to worship God in advance because we know that every little thing is going to be all right. And for you, that is what my prayer is in your life, for whatever you're dealing with. If you're here today and you're facing a mountain, I want you to pray to God and ask, God, is this something that you need to be working on? Is there hard work that I'm missing out in this? Is there something that I have not done? Give me the power and the strength to continue to push through. For some others of you, man, hard work's not the thing that's going to help you through it. But I think worship will. If you need a song to worship, man, you can download this one. I absolutely love it, and it's my song. It's what we're worshiping in the car with. But we're constantly reminding ourselves and remembering, God got us here so far. God's going to get us through it. And in spite of the mountain that we're facing, in spite of what we're going through, I'm going to worship him because I know everything's going to be just fine. Every little thing is going to work out. I don't know what's going on in your life. You do. I would bet for all of us it's a little bit different. But I think that the principles are the same. You can't handle it alone. So don't try to. Work on it. Worship through it. And let God have his way. Here in just a second, I want to pray over you and whatever mountains that you're facing. And no one's going to be looking around here in a second. I'm going to tell you when. If you're with a family member, I want you can hold their hand or put your hand on them. Or if you're with someone that's a friend, you can touch them and then connect with them. But we're going to pray over these mountains. But before that, I want to tell you this. Here at 6 o'clock today at Esther Street Park, we got about 6 people that are saying, you know what, God, I'm done trying to handle things on my own. I've tried for so long and it doesn't work out. Today, I want to start a new life with you. And in that, they're getting baptized. Now, it's not this big mystical thing. It's just something we're showing what's happening on the outside of what we're saying is happening on the inside in our spirits. This idea of putting our old life, our old ways aside and being washed and cleaned and starting life new with him. If you're a follower of Christ and you've never done this, or if you did it as a little kid and it wasn't your decision, I believe it's an important step in all of our lives if we're going to follow Jesus. Jesus told his disciples, says, go make disciples and baptize them. And so if you haven't been baptized, I want to challenge you to do it. We've got a sign-up sheet that's going to be in the breezeway here at the end of this service. I'm going to be there. Erica's going to be there. We're going to hang out. We're going to have the Coastline tent there and hang out on the beach for a little bit. But we're going to celebrate people that are taking their first step in obedience and a relationship with Christ. If you've already been baptized, you're free to come out and hang out with us and celebrate with some other people. But if you've never started a relationship with Jesus, I want to tell you today is a great opportunity to start one. Today, I am a better man than I could ever be on my own. And it's not because of an education. It's not because of money. It's not because of a fantastic wife that I have or great parents. They all had a part to play. But Jesus Christ came in and completely changed my life and gave me a purpose and set me on the right track and continues to help me every day. It doesn't mean that I do it right. I'm a pastor. I told you I sinned this past week. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. But he continues to help me every day face whatever mountain is in front of me. And I want that for you. So if you're interested in making that decision, come see me in the breezeway here at the end of service. I'd love to be able to help you and talk you through what comes next. With every head bowed, every eye closed, as we close down, if you're here today with a family member, feel free to put a hand on their leg or hold their hand. I don't know what you're dealing with. You know exactly what you guys are dealing with. If you're here by yourself, the Holy Spirit knows exactly what you're going through. You're not alone. I want to tell you at any point, if you need help with prayer or if you need someone to talk to, you can call us at Coastline. Man, I'd love to be able to help you out with whatever's going on. If I can't do it, I'm going to tell you I can't do it, but I can find a person that can. But whatever your mountain is, I just want you to lift it up and surrender it to God today, just in your mind. Heavenly Father, you know exactly what things are that we're dealing with and that we're struggling with and that we're trying to get through, the things that are bigger than us, the things that we fought for so long or that we just started fighting. God, I pray, I claim in your name, based off of what it says in your word, I know that everything is going to be all right. I pray that you would start to put your hands to it right now. God, I pray that we would continue, if there's whatever things that we need to be working on to get through it, God, I pray that you would show us and give us the power and the passion to push through it and to charge it hard and to not let up, to get up and to get over it. God, if it's something that hard work's not going to have an effect on, I pray that we would just continue to have faith in you and continue to worship you through it and rely on you, that you're going to get us up and over and around and through, and that no matter what happens, in the toughest of times and the highest of mountains, no matter how bleak it looks, God, I know that everything's going to be all right. We're claiming it in your son's name, the name of Jesus. Everybody said, amen.